Walking into a private suite by mistake while accompanying my boss to a party, I stumbled upon my wife entangled with the college student I was sponsoring. She was supposed to be working late, yet here she was, disheveled and flushed. I slipped in, disguised as a server. She simply ordered, "Clean it up," in an indifferent tone, and among the mess, I found the amulet I had knelt and pleaded for 3,000 steps to obtain years ago. I bent down, picked up the amulet from the floor, rubbed it on my clothes, and asked with a glimmer of hope, "Do you still want this?" Vivian frowned, a flicker of disgust in her eyes. "It's so dirty. Why would I want it? Just take it and throw it away." My heart clenched, and I tossed the amulet into the trash. Caleb chuckled, teasing, "Vivian, I remember this was the amulet Ethan specifically went to a secluded chapel to get for you when you were uncomfortable during your pregnancy, and you're just throwing it away." He knelt and pleaded for 3,000 steps just to convince the master to personally bless it. Sounds truly touching. Hearing recount the past, Vivian's face showed no emotion. She simply smiled and lifted his chin. "What, are you jealous?" That was all Ethan's wishful thinking. "Don't you know who I truly love?" Caleb's eyes gleamed with triumph, though his voice feigned hurt. "You always kept it with you. I thought you valued it so much." Vivian leaned in and kissed him soundly on the cheek. "It was just for show. In front of Ethan. After all, I'm an executive at the company, and if my home life wasn't harmonious, people would talk." Caleb asked her, "What if Ethan finds out the amulet is gone?" Vivian shrugged carelessly. "So what if it's gone? He can just go get another one. That fool believes anything I tell him." Their conversation pierced my ears like needles, and my hands trembled as I cleaned. Just this morning, Vivian had been apologizing, nestled in my arms. She had said there was an urgent matter at the company, requiring her to travel for work, and she couldn't celebrate my birthday with me. I felt bad for her busy work schedule, so I didn't ask another question. Thoughtfully packing her suitcase for her, even when I saw the condoms tucked into her clothes, I thought she had accidentally put them there, but I never imagined they would be solid proof of her infidelity. I clenched my fists, desperately suppressing the rage in my heart. Under their gaze, I raised my hand and dropped the amulet into the trash. This object, once brimming with my love for her, was now defiled. There was no longer any reason for it to exist, and my affection for her completely vanished at that very moment. Caleb draped an arm around Vivian's waist, whining, "Sweetheart, my commute to work is so far now. Will you buy me a car?" Vivian looked at him indulgently, somewhat amused. "Why don't you ask Ethan for money? He's much more generous than I am." Caleb pouted. "I told him already. Said I wanted to start a business, but he kept talking to me for ages. He said he was afraid I'd get scammed, and insisted on knowing exactly how I'd start the business, who my partners would be, and if they were reliable before I'd give me any money. He's so cheap." Vivian was amused by Caleb's behavior and laughed, agreeing, "All right, tomorrow I'll take you to look at cars. Pick whichever one you like." I picked up the fallen wine bottle from the floor, wishing I could just smash it over Caleb's head. I had been sponsoring him since middle school, treating him like my own brother. I supported him all the way through college. Whenever he asked for money, I never refused. He told me the day before yesterday that he wanted to start a business and asked for 2 million yuan. I only asked him so many questions out of concern, and I even used my connections to help him succeed, but I never expected that not only did he treat me like a walking ATM, he even stole my wife. All these years, I had been blind to the fact that he was an ungrateful snake. Indecent sounds came from nearby again. I couldn't stand it anymore. I grabbed the trash bag, intending to leave, but Vivian called out to me, "Wait." In a moment, "You'll stand guard at the door. My husband and I are going to do something private, and you're not to let anyone in. If you handle this well, I'll give you $1,000 tip later." My husband? I gritted my teeth, suppressing the disgust in my gut. "Find someone else for this job. I'm not doing it." Vivian's face turned cold. She stood up and slapped me, nearly knocking my mask off. She pulled out a handful of $100 bills from her bag and threw them in my face, disdainfully saying, "I have plenty of money, and if you make me unhappy, I'll just have your manager fire you. Now get out there and stand guard." I wanted to see what other games they would play, so I bent down and picked up the money from the floor. Caleb sneered, "Aren't you just doing it for the money? Why pretend to be so virtuous, wearing a mask like you're some celebrity?" This private suite at the nightclub was very soundproof. If I hadn't gone into the wrong one, I would never have seen this scene. Vivian would never in a million years have guessed that I was right in front of her. listening to her vile words, watching her being treated as a plaything by another man. Just as I finished picking up the bills and started to walk towards the door, Vivian's phone rang. "Hello, is this Ms. Vivian? Your son was in a car accident and is currently being resuscitated at the hospital. He urgently needs blood. Both your son and husband have a rare blood type, but we can't reach Ethan right now. Could you please help us contact him?" Hearing about my son's car accident, blood rushed to my head. My son was my only family, and I absolutely couldn't let anything happen to him. I immediately wanted to drop everything and rush to the hospital, but just as I turned, Vivian stopped me. "Stop right there. Did I say you could leave? If I tell you to stay, then you'll stand here and guard the door." Caleb also blocked my path, sneering, "Aren't you a server with backbone? Today I'm going to teach you a good lesson. In a bit, I'm going to play games right in front of you, and you'll stand inside and guard." At this point, Vivian, still holding her phone, started calling me. How annoying. What is Ethan doing? How could he not even look after his own child? She called me back, but I had left my phone in the boss's private room when I stepped out to use the restroom. Where the hell is Ethan? He's not answering my calls. She then called the police station, asking for my whereabouts. "Vivian, you mean Captain? They seem to have gone drinking. They're not at the station." Hearing the news from the police station, Vivian instantly flew into a rage. "The child is like this, and he's still drinking. He's a damn hindrance." With that, she grabbed her bag and made to leave. Caleb swiftly grabbed her arm. "Baby, calm down. How could Ethan's phone be unreachable if he's just drinking? He must be lying to you. Maybe he's just trying to get your attention with this trick." I glared at Caleb, my eyes practically spitting fire. At his words, Vivian stopped. Just then, the hospital called again. "Have you reached your husband? The blood bank is empty right now, and the only person with a rare blood type we could contact is asking for a 500,000 reward to donate blood." Hearing there was someone else with a rare blood type, I felt a sense of relief. But 500,000 was nothing to Vivian. She could casually gift Caleb, her young lover, a car worth that much. To my surprise, upon hearing this, Vivian sneered. 500,000. They're scammers, trying to trick me out of my money, aren't they? No way. You won't get a single cent. The doctor on the other end of the line grew desperate. "Ms. Vivian, your son is in critical condition. We are truly not lying to you, and we genuinely cannot reach your husband." Vivian tossed her bag onto the sofa and sat down leisurely. "Can't reach him? Looks like Ethan is secretly cooperating with you. No, this must be his deliberate plan. Right? I'm telling you, you won't get any money. He's a worthless brat. If he dies, he dies." The other end of the line sounded helpless. "If you don't believe us, could you please come to the hospital yourself? This is your child's life we're talking about." Vivian frowned, and Caleb, seeing this, immediately hugged her, whining, "Baby, didn't you promise to stay with me all day today?" I think Ethan is deliberately having someone lie. Maybe he's drinking right now, betting with someone whether you care about him or not. Vivian's wavering expression instantly vanished. She hung up the phone directly, only leaving behind one sentence. "If he dies, he dies. Don't try to trick me into giving you money." I stared at Vivian, my eyes burning with fury. How could she say such a heartless thing? That was the son she had carried for 10 months. Even if she thought it was a trick, couldn't she go and see for herself, just to confirm? Did her son mean so little to her? Seeing them cozy up together again, I threw the mop onto the floor with trembling hands. I looked at Vivian and said coldly, "Your child is in such a critical situation. The least you could do is go see him." Vivian immediately became agitated upon hearing this. "Are you trying to show off? What does my family business have to do with an outsider like you? I told you to go guard the door. What are you standing here for? Is the money not enough?" Vivian grabbed her bag, pulled out a large wad of bills without even counting, and threw them, scattering them through the air. "Is this enough? Can you go guard the door now? Just watch the damn door." My heart sank completely then. In front of her, I picked up all the money and furiously flung it back at Vivian's face. "Keep your filthy money. I don't want it." Caleb tried to stop me, but I kicked him directly out of the private suite, rushing to the hospital. I ran straight to the emergency room. "Doctor, I'm Ethan. I'm here to donate blood. Where's my son?" "And you are?" I quickly wiped away the makeup on my face and showed my ID. "Yes, I'm Leo's father." The doctor looked at me with sympathy and closed the medical record. "He no longer needs a transfusion. Your son couldn't be saved due to excessive blood loss. He just stopped breathing. My body went limp, and I collapsed to my knees, my ears rang, and I heard the doctor sigh, "It's such a pity, if you had arrived just half an hour earlier. The child could have been saved." Half an hour earlier. My nails dug deep into my palms. If hadn't stopped me, my son might still have had a chance to live. I dragged my heavy feet, walking step by painful step into the morgue, looking at my son, cold and lifeless on the bed. My heart twisted in agony before my eyes. I saw him again, hugging my police uniform, saying he wanted to be a great person like his dad someday. He was still so young, he hadn't seen the vibrant colors of this world yet. And I hadn't even held his little hand to take him to the aquarium we promised. "Ethan, you owe me my son." A scream exploded in my ears as Vivian lunged at me, slapping my face several times. My child was perfectly fine before I left for my business trip. How could he end up like this? "You killed my son," she cried uncontrollably, looking utterly heartbroken, yet I was remarkably calm. Even at a time like this, she couldn't stop lying. Business trip. She was clearly cheating. Caleb also hobbled over, and seeing the situation, quickly helped Vivian and tried to comfort her. "Vivian, don't worry, Ethan was just too busy with work and accidentally caused this tragedy. You can't blame him entirely." He seemed kind, but in reality, he was fanning the flames. Sure enough, when Vivian heard this, her gaze at me turned sharp as a knife. "Busy with work? He just went drinking. Look at him, reeking of alcohol. His son was fighting for his life in the hospital, and he was out partying. Do you deserve to be a father?" Just then, the traffic police arrived to explain the situation to us. After school that afternoon, my son didn't see the car that usually picked him up, and he couldn't reach his parents on the phone. So he decided to walk home by himself. While crossing the street, he was hit directly by a car that ran a red light. The police station was busy. Normally, Vivian was responsible for picking up and dropping off our child, and if she was away on a business trip, she would have the nanny do it. For some reason, the nanny didn't go today. Vivian was trembling with rage. She pulled out her phone and called the nanny directly, unleashing a torrent of abuse. The nanny's voice sounded wronged. "I asked you for time off. I sent you a message this afternoon saying I needed time off and for you to arrange someone else to pick him up. Don't you usually keep your phone accessible when you're on business trips? Why didn't you see the message?" Vivian froze, stunned. My blood boiled as I listened to their conversation. I asked Vivian, "Where were you this afternoon?" Vivian stammered, her eyes darting away. "On a business trip, of course. You know that, don't you?" Seeing her guilty expression, my heart was filled with uncontrollable rage. I stared coldly at her, then pointed at Caleb. "Business trip? More like you went to cheat on me with him." The thought that her obstruction had caused my son and me to be separated forever made me wish I could tear her apart. Vivian instantly panicked and shoved me hard. "What nonsense are you talking about? Ethan, you're just trying to blame our son's death on me, aren't you? You're going to great lengths to slander me just to shift the blame." Caleb's face showed a pained expression, and he complained in front of everyone. "Ethan, how could you say such a thing? I've always treated you like my own brother. The moment I heard about our nephew, I rushed right over. I can't believe you'd say that about me." Vivian sat down on the floor and covered her face, weeping loudly. "My husband killed my son, and now I have to bear the blame for cheating too. Just kill me already." They argued loudly, and people passing by turned to stare, pointing fingers at me. How can that man be like that? He delayed donating blood to his son because he was drinking, and now he's blaming his wife. Exactly. And he's accusing his wife of cheating? I bet he's the one who cheated and feels guilty. I heard he's a cop. How can he act like this? Hearing these comments, Vivian gained confidence. She stood up and slapped me hard. "Ethan, what's the point of saying all this? If you hadn't arrived at the hospital in time to give our son a blood transfusion, he wouldn't have died. Our son's death is all your fault." Listening to her twisting the narrative, I said no more. I simply threw the body camera in front of her. "Fine. Then I'll tell you right now why I didn't get to the hospital in time." Amidst everyone's sneers and sarcasm, the scene of Vivian and Caleb entwined appeared on the body camera's screen. Hearing her say, "If he dies, he dies," the crowd gasped, pointing fingers at Vivian. "That woman is too heartless. He's her own son, and she wouldn't even go see him. Yeah, if she had just gone to check, maybe the child could have been saved." Vivian stared blankly at the video on the screen, then suddenly burst out in anger. "Ethan, what is the meaning of this? Were you having someone spy on me?" I tugged at the clothes I was wearing, looking at her coldly. Haven't you realized who I am yet? Seeing the familiar server's jacket on me, a flicker of panic crossed Vivian's face. Only at this moment did she realize that I had been present for everything that happened in the private suite. That person, that server, was you. I gripped my clothes tightly, my teeth almost biting through my jaw. I tried to leave for the hospital several times. But you stopped me again and again, costing me the chance to save our son. Do you have any idea? Just half an hour. If only you had let me leave earlier, I could have saved him. Vivian's face went ashen, and she collapsed to her knees. If I hadn't happened to stumble upon you while on duty, I wouldn't have known that my wife was betraying me with my own brother. I looked at Caleb and punched him hard in the face. I sponsored you for over a decade, helped you get into college. Is this how you repay me? Caleb tried to fight back, but he was no match for me. He quickly called out to Vivian for help. Vivian, however, didn't move. She just stared at her son's cold body and burst into loud sobs. Caleb cried out for help from the people around, but no one offered assistance. That guy is disgusting. He's sleeping with his benefactor's wife. Does he have no shame? He deserves to be beaten. I even feel like kicking him a couple of times. Finally, the doctor, afraid it'd seriously injure him, quickly pulled me away. At that moment, Ryan also rushed to the hospital. Seeing the chaotic scene, he sighed and tried to help Vivian. Vivian, don't blame Ethan. He was on duty and couldn't get here in time. He was at the final stage of his assignment and could have quietly slipped away, but for some reason, the guests in that private suite insisted on keeping him, and Ethan had to stay. Worried the manager might notice something was off, he had just finished handling something at the police station and wasn't yet aware of what had truly happened. Watching Vivian's face grow paler and paler, I sneered and handed him the body camera. You don't know yet, do you? The guests in that private suite were Vivian and my good brother. Ryan watched the recording and was so enraged he immediately rolled up his sleeves, ready to beat Caleb again. Vivian stood there muttering, not daring to intervene. Ryan's father was her boss over the years. Because of my relationship with Ryan, his father had given her a lot of support. Without that connection, she wouldn't have been promoted to manager so quickly. Ryan looked at Vivian with contempt and spat on the ground. I feel so bad for Ethan. How could he have fallen for a woman like you? Do you think you're worthy of all he's done for you over the years? Vivian cried and knelt before me, grabbing my pant leg. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I've wronged you and our child. Please, can you forgive me? If I had known the car accident was real, I definitely wouldn't have held you back and prevented you from leaving. I looked at Vivian indifferently and asked her, do you still remember the amulet I gave you? Vivian froze, clearly recalling what she had said earlier in the private suite, and a flicker of panic crossed her face. I said calmly, the moment you threw away that amulet, there was no longer any possibility for us. Ryan was so angry he stopped calling her Vivian, and asked me what I intended to do. I touched my son's cold little hand, my decision already made. Help me find a lawyer. I want a divorce. Hearing me say I wanted a divorce, Vivian completely panicked. Ethan, we've been married for so many years. How can you just decide to get divorced? Before I could reply, an aged voice sounded in the room. This marriage must end. Our family does not have a daughter-in-law like you. Vivian's body stiffened as she looked at Margaret, who had just arrived. Margaret, please let me explain. Margaret's face was pale, and as her gaze fell upon her grandson's body, the hatred in her eyes intensified. What do you have to explain? Vivian, I'm asking you, how have we, the Liu family, ever wronged you? We've been married for so many years, and I've poured my heart out, treating you completely like my own daughter. But how have you treated Ethan? How have you treated my grandson? A woman like you doesn't deserve to be a wife or a mother. Vivian's face instantly drained of color. She cried, trying to reach for Margaret, but was pushed away. Margaret, I made a terrible mistake in a moment of confusion. I didn't want things to turn out like this, and he was my son too. Margaret ignored her, stepped forward to look at her grandson's body, and tears fell from her clouded eyes. It's Grandma's fault. If only I had known. Grandma should have made your parents divorce sooner, then maybe you wouldn't have died. I supported Margaret, and my own eyes couldn't help but well up. Before today, I had always thought I was the happiest person in the world. I had a wife, a son, and a harmonious family, but I never imagined that in an instant, I would lose everything, and at this moment, the culprit actually had the audacity to beg for forgiveness. I clenched my jaw, glaring fiercely at Vivian. The biggest regret of my life is marrying you." Vivian covered her face, sobbing uncontrollably. "Ethan, I really know I was wrong. Please don't leave me." Caleb, clutching his injuries, quickly called out to her, "Vivian, didn't you say you don't love him? Now that he wants a divorce, just divorce him, and we can be together openly from now on." Hearing this, a fierce look appeared in Vivian's eyes. She kicked Caleb away and cursed angrily. "It's all your fault, you scum, for seducing me. If you hadn't thrown yourself at me, how could I have betrayed Ethan?" Caleb sat stunned on the floor, completely unprepared for Vivian's sudden change of demeanor. "Didn't you say in the private suite earlier that I was the one you loved most? Have you forgotten so quickly?" Hearing him mention the private suite again, Vivian's face twitched several times, a pained expression appearing. "How dare you say that? If you hadn't kept me from leaving then, my son wouldn't have died. You murderer! You owe me my son." Vivian lunged at him, scratching Caleb's face until it bled. Caleb dodged while retorting, "If you truly cared about your son, I wouldn't have been able to stop you, no matter how hard I tried. A mother, even if she thought it was a trick, would at least go and see, wouldn't she? You say it's my fault, but your legs are attached to your body. Even if I wanted to stop you, could I have?" The two completely lost their tempers. Vivian was trembling with rage. She tore off Caleb's clothes. "You animal. I spent so much money on you. Take off those clothes you're wearing. Those are all my money." The two argued incessantly. I picked up the torn white sheet and gently covered my son with it, my heart twisting in agony. It was all Daddy's fault, for misjudging people and letting you have such an irresponsible mother. Looking at the two of them, blaming each other, I roared, "Both of you, get out! Don't disturb my son's peace." Facing's resentful and malicious gaze, I said coldly, "You've taken a lot from me over the years now. It's time for me to take it back." Caleb's body trembled, and a flicker of panic crossed his face. I ignored him, and Ryan and I turned to leave. Vivian called out a few times from behind us, but I didn't look back. "This divorce, it's happening. I contacted the crematorium while gathering evidence. Vivian and Caleb killed my son. I absolutely won't let that despicable pair get away with it." Ryan was filled with righteous indignation. The next day, he went straight to his father's company and exposed Vivian's infidelity and how she had caused her own son's death. Now, Vivian didn't even dare to go to work, staying cooped up at home all day, saying she was afraid people would point fingers at her if she went out. How ironic, she had the nerve to do such things. Yet she was afraid of what people would say. Concerned about the company's image, Vivian was immediately fired. She tried to find another job, but the industry was small, and her scandalous affairs had already spread far and wide. Everyone knew about them. Who would dare hire such a heartless and ruthless woman? Seeing that she stubbornly refused to sign the divorce papers, I snorted, seeing right through her intentions. She likely felt she had nowhere else to go, and Caleb was just a poor student. So she might as well cling to me to continue living the good life she once had. I couldn't be bothered with her. I left the divorce papers and went to Caleb's university. At the academic dean's office, in front of his advisor and the department head, I presented the financial statements of my sponsorship over the years. Over these years, besides tuition and living expenses, Caleb had asked me for a considerable amount of money under various pretexts now. I was not only cutting off my sponsorship but also demanding all that money back. Seeing the enormous sum on the financial statements, the head of the department was also shocked. I thought Caleb was an excellent student, both in character and academics, and I was preparing to give him a guaranteed spot in a graduate program this year. How could he be such a morally corrupt person? The advisor, who had more contact with the students, shook his head upon hearing this and whispered, "Dean, you don't know, this young man is quite something. He's been dating several girlfriends simultaneously at the university, and he almost caused a major incident before." I was stunned to hear this. I never thought Caleb was a professional gold digger. I had thought his previous desperate act was because he was genuinely madly in love with Vivian. It turned out it was because Vivian was the wealthiest among his stable of wealthy women, which was why he couldn't let go. I made an audio recording and casually sent this gossip to Vivian. I was curious to see what her expression would be when she realized she had destroyed her family and caused her son's death for such a man. After this, Caleb's department immediately revoked his qualification for a guaranteed spot in a graduate program. And the entire university knew what he had done. Several of his roommates were disgusted by his character and told him to move out immediately. Even the job offers Caleb had just received from several major companies were immediately revoked. Caleb was now truly a pariah, universally despised, but he faced more than just this. Over these years, in addition to the agreed-upon tuition and living expenses, he had taken over 300,000 yuan from me in total. I intended to reclaim this money from him in the name of recovering marital assets. Caleb's family was originally very poor, and after latching onto a rich woman, he spent money lavishly and didn't save a single cent. Facing the 300,000 yuan debt informed by the lawyer, he pleaded with everyone he knew but couldn't come up with much. In the middle of the night, with nowhere left to turn, he called me. Ethan, I really know I was wrong. All these years you treated me like a brother, but I did something so wrong to you. I deserve to die. I've truly wronged you. He cried with what sounded like genuine remorse, as if he were truly repenting. Ethan, I truly can't come up with 300,000 yuan, please, for the sake of our past connection. Can you let me go? I held my phone and sneered. Connection? Did you think about connection when you were seducing my wife and indirectly causing my son's death? Scum like you don't deserve to talk about connection with me. If you can't come up with the money, then just wait to be sued. After delivering my harsh words, I immediately blocked him. I thought I'd never see him again, but to my surprise, I ran into Caleb when I was at the courthouse for my divorce case with Vivian. When I saw Caleb, he was there to ask Vivian for money. I was pressing him hard, and everyone he knew was aware of his character and refused to lend him money. After much thought, he shamelessly came to Vivian. Vivian, a single day as husband and wife implies 100 days of kindness. You truly loved me back then. So can't you help me pay back this money? Vivian disgustedly shook off his hand, not a trace of tenderness left in her eyes. She was now unemployed and couldn't find work, and divorcing as the guilty party meant she likely wouldn't get much money. Times had changed. She was no longer the rich woman who could casually hand over 500,000 yuan to buy her young lover a car. With so little money left, the always selfish Vivian certainly wouldn't share a single bit with Caleb. Caleb, how dare you show your face in front of me? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have lost everything. I'm telling you, don't even think about touching my money. With that, Vivian, enraged, pulled out her phone and started playing the audio recording I had sent her. You've got some nerve, hooking up with other women while you were with me. Treating me like a walking ATM, huh? Hearing the content of the audio recording, Caleb knew he couldn't play on her emotions anymore and immediately decided to embrace the worst. So what? It's your luck that someone my age would even be with you. Isn't it only right for you to spend money on me? Which of my girlfriends aren't younger and prettier than you? The fact that I'd even look at an old woman like you means you should wake up laughing from your dreams. Vivian hadn't expected Caleb to blurt out his true feelings, nor had she expected him to think of her that way. She was so furious she couldn't speak. Caleb grinned menacingly, revealing his true colors. I'm telling you, I still have some intimate photos of you. If you don't give me money, I'll send these photos directly to everyone who knows you. I was also stunned to hear this. I truly didn't know what Caleb was thinking. This was blackmail. How dare he say such a thing on the courthouse steps? Vivian was also shocked, as if she were seeing Caleb for the first time. She looked at Caleb's repulsive face, a flicker of hatred in her eyes. Threatening me with photos? Have you forgotten? I've transferred a lot of money to you over the years, hundreds of thousands in total. When I transferred that money, I deliberately avoided certain numbers, so legally, all of it can be recovered. Since you're so shameless, don't blame me for being ruthless. We'll destroy each other in this. Caleb panicked and quickly tried to explain to Vivian, don't be impulsive, sweetheart. I was just saying that. How could I possibly send your photos out? But wasn't buying it at all. She violently shook off his hand. I should thank you for reminding me that I deposited this money with you. I was worried about how I'd live after the divorce, but you've conveniently come to deliver the money yourself. She walked straight to the lawyer and declared decisively, please draft another lawsuit for me. I want to reclaim all the money I previously gave to Caleb. Before she could finish, she suddenly felt a cold, sharp pain in her body, and screams erupted around her. Vivian looked down, disbelievingly seeing the sharp knife in her abdomen. You. How could you? Caleb's eyes were vicious. He twisted the knife further into her body. If you're going to push me to the brink, don't blame me for being ruthless. If I'm going to die, we'll die together. It was then that I snapped back to reality. I immediately subdued Caleb and called an ambulance for Vivian. looking at Vivian lying in a pool of blood. I frowned. With this amount of bleeding, she's probably not going to make it. Vivian's eyes widened. She looked at me, seemingly having a brief moment of clarity. Husband, she strained to reach out to me, as if trying to grasp my hand. I held Caleb down on the ground and calmly advised her, "You've lost a lot of blood. It's best not to move." Hearing the words "lost a lot of blood," a dazed look crossed Vivian's face. My son also died from excessive blood loss. Is this my retribution? I said nothing, thinking of the son I had buried with my own hands. My heart ached so much I could barely breathe. Vivian continued speaking. She looked at me, a hint of sorrow in her eyes. Husband, I wish we could start over. We'd still be a happy family. I'm sorry. I've wronged you and our son. She suddenly gasped, her eyes wide as if she saw something. Son, my son is here to pick me up. I turned my head away, not looking anymore. When the ambulance arrived, Vivian had already stopped breathing. I took Caleb back to the police station. For premeditated murder, he was likely facing the death penalty on the day the verdict was announced. I specially brought a bouquet of flowers to my son's grave and placed the verdict at his grave. Watching the wisps of smoke curl upwards, the heavy stone pressing on my heart finally lifted. I only hoped my son's soul in heaven could find solace.